p.m. And my name is Rick Hansen, and I'll open the meeting as the chair and serve as the presiding officer momentarily. So I don't see any members of the public, but just remind everybody to silence your phones, and we don't want Pat's phone going off with a text in the middle of the presentation. So, all right. Again, this is a public meeting for the City of Glendora, and we welcome your participation here this evening. So, roll call. We have Commissioner Nadia Hardijinada. Perfect. All right. Commissioner Lammers and Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Cece and myself, Richard Hansen. So we have a full dais this evening. And with that, Nadia, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does anybody wish to reorganize or add anything to the agenda? No? No. Seeing none, we'll move right on to the public comment period. This is a time where we invite the public to address the legislative body. You are limited to 3 minutes, and there are speaker cards in the back. If anybody wants to speak, please fill it out and provide them to the recording secretary before the end of the public hearing or public comment period. So are there any individuals from the public that would like to speak?
I've received none. He doesn't want to speak.
No. I'm shy. All right. Well, it was a new face, so I figured it was a public member. So, all right. There's no public comment period right now, so I'll close the public comment period. Before we get started, member comments. David? No.
Not at the moment.
You would, right there.
None.
Yeah, none. Okay. All right, Greg?
Welcome, Nadia, to the commission.
Great. Thank you. Pat?
Yes, welcome, Nadia. And also, again, I just wanted to commend everyone on your presentations last quarter. Yeah, excellent presentations. So chock full of information, so thank you guys for all that preparation.
Paul, do you have anything?
No.
Not at this time? You've got a lot at the end. Okay, moving on to special items. Item number 2 is the administer the oath of office and the reorganization for term 2026-27. And our city clerk specialist, Lorena Cordova, is going to do a report.
Thank you very much. So at this time, I would like to call up Nadia up so we can do her oath.
Okay.
Go ahead, raise your hand. I state your name.
Nadia Hajinata.
Do solemnly affirm. You will repeat after me.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Do solemnly swear
Affirm that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitutions of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to have you sign right there. Awesome, perfect. Go ahead, extend some. All right, technical difficulties here real quick. Okay, so at this time, I declare the offices for the chair and vice chair vacant. Nominations are now in order. Do I have any nominations for chair?
Well, unless anyone has any others, I would resubmit for Chair Hansen.
Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, congratulations, Anthony.
I think by default.
I'll turn the meeting back over to you, so that way you can select the vice chair.
Great, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I know we've had a pretty good run for a while, so got a lot accomplished, and I just thank you for your support, and we'll continue to move forward. Of course, we've got a great staff that provides us with all the information, so we thank you, Paul, and your staff. All right, are there nominations for the vice chair?
I'll nominate Mr. Lammers, if you would like.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? See none? Okay. There are no other nominations, so I would declare that Greg Lammers is elected vice chair by acclamation. Congratulations, Greg. Just want a housekeeping clarification thing. Lorena, do the terms of office, is Nadia going to have to reappoint because this was filling a vacancy?
Correct, so it's considered as unexpired term.
Yeah.
So yes, if she wants to continue, she'll have to reapply to be a first full term. So this is
Okay.
unexpired because she's taking over the last person.
Does, and then that term expires in,
I believe in 27, I'll have to look it up. and
Okay.
see.
29, according to the
I
website.
believe so, yeah.
I looked at the website yesterday, and the three of us are shown as 29. Dave, Nadia, and me.
okay. So 29, so Greg and I would be 27.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cross-reference.
And that's a fiscal year?
Yeah, because it goes from July to June, but it's 4-year term.
Okay, okay.
So if you come in mid-term, you can actually do 2 more full terms?
You can only serve 2 terms technically. So once you do the second term, you're basically,
Oh, I see.
you're done. Unless you want to do another commission.
Justin did come back, but it
Yeah.
was after he was off the commission.
For a while.
I believe you'd have to wait,
Yeah.
before you can come back.
I was just wondering, because I came in midterm also, but that's considered my term, 1 term.
I would have to look and see. I don't know offhand, but yes, I don't know if this is your first term or your second
Second.
term. Is your second?
My-
Because technically, if you came on, it would be unexpired, so it's not a first full term.
This is my
That's-
this is my first full term. I was in a partial term before.
Okay, so then you have 1 more term that you can come back.
Alrighty then. If you guys will have me.
All right, we'll move on to unfinished business. This is the Water Division First Quarter Operating Budget Overview, and Management Analyst Ivy Gonzalez will give us a report.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Tonight I'll be providing an overview of the Water Division's fiscal year 2026-27 operating budget. As our first budget presentation of the fiscal year, tonight's goal is to establish a foundation for the quarterly budget updates you'll receive throughout the year. Rather than focusing on financial performance, this presentation is intended to familiarize you with how the Water Division is organized, the 5 functional areas that make up the Water Division, and the operating resources that support each section's daily responsibilities. This annual overview also helps establish a common understanding of the operating budget before we begin discussing financial activity later in the fiscal year. Tonight's presentation has three objectives. First, introduce the fiscal year 26-27 operating budget. Second, provide an overview of the division's 5 functional areas and the resources that support each one. And finally, establish the framework we'll use for our quarterly budget updates moving forward. As you'll see throughout the presentation, the focus tonight is understanding how the budget supports daily operations rather than evaluating spending or financial performance. Before we look at the individual sections, I wanted to briefly explain how our budget reporting will progress throughout the year. Tonight's presentation is intentionally the broadest. It's planned to establish the foundation for future budget discussions. Our second quarter report is intended to include the fiscal year 25-26 end-year financial update, along with current fiscal year 26-27 budget activities. As with any year-end close, the timing depends on completion of the city's financial fiscal year-end closure. If that process is still underway, staff will provide the most current information available and return with finalized results once the closure has completed. Q3 will focus more on budget utilization and financial trends, while Q4 will provide a year-end preliminary performance summary. Each quarterly presentation will build up the framework we're establishing tonight. The first functional area is water administration. Water administration provides the administrative support necessary for the entire division to operate efficiently. The section is responsible for budget administration, financial oversight, contract administration, procurement, regulatory compliance, and supporting both the Water Commission and City Council. While this section may not directly maintain infrastructure, it provides administrative functions that allow the rest of the division to perform its work efficiently. This slide highlights the major operating resources that support water administration. Rather than focusing on the individual dollar amounts tonight, I'd encourage you to look at the categories themselves. These categories represent the resources necessary to support the administrative responsibilities we just discussed. As we move through the presentation, you'll notice many of the same expenditure categories appear throughout the division, although each section also has operational needs unique to the work it performs. Customer service serves as the primary point of contact between the water division and our customers. This section manages customer accounts, responds to service requests, coordinates meter-related services, provides customer notifications, and assists with leak verifications. Although much of this work occurs behind the scenes, it plays an important role in maintaining responsive customer service and communication with our community. Similar to the previous slide, these operating resources support the daily responsibilities of the customer service section. While several expenditure categories are consistent across the division, the specific budget reflects the operational needs of this section and the services it provides for our customers. The conservation section focuses on promoting efficient water use while supporting compliance in state conservation requirements. This includes public outreach, educational programs, customer assistance, and implementing conservation initiatives throughout the community. The section plays an important role in helping the city meet both local and state conservation objectives. One category you'll notice here that's unique to conservation is the division-specific programs. These resources support the conservation programs, educational efforts, and customer initiatives administered by this section. Again, tonight's goal is to simply introduce you to the types of operating resources that support each functional area. Distribution is responsible for maintaining the city's water distribution system. Their responsibilities include water main maintenance and repairs, valve and hydrant maintenance, and ensuring the reliability of the city's distribution infrastructure. This section is responsible for maintaining much of the infrastructure that delivers water throughout the community. As you might expect, distribution has operating resources that reflect the needs of the field operations section. In addition to salaries and employee benefits, you'll see categories that support contract services, waterline parts, materials, equipment, and other resources necessary to maintain and repair the city's distribution system. These operating resources help ensure staff can respond to both planned maintenance and unexpected repairs throughout the year. The final functional area is production. Production is responsible for producing, treating, and delivering safe, reliable drinking water. This includes operating wells, reservoirs, booster pump stations, treatment facilities, and maintaining water quality throughout the city's water system. This section is essential to assuring reliable water service for our customers. Production includes several operating categories that are unique to producing and delivering drinking water. These include purchased water, pumping operations, treatment and well maintenance, and regulatory assessments. Together, these operating resources support the infrastructure and operational activities necessary to provide safe and reliable drinking water to our community. To summarize tonight's presentation, we've introduced the Water Division's 5 functional areas and discussed the operating resources that support each one. More importantly, we've established a common framework for understanding future quarterly budget reports. As we move through the fiscal year, each quarterly presentation will build upon this foundation by providing additional information regarding budget activity, utilization, and financial performance as that information becomes available. That concludes my presentation. Staff recommends that Water Commission receive and file the Water Division operating budget overview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ivy. Nice presentation. Let's open it up for discussion, questions. David?
No, not, I think you set the context when you said this is to kind of review the categories and the framework for the year. In the future, when we show this data, one thing that would be helpful to me is if we could show it in a format like a pie chart or a table where everything is on one eye span, so that we can look across that and see how much is going to what. If that's possible to do, I would appreciate
Noted.
that.
I did actually have a graph, but because there are some lines that are really small, it was really
Yeah.
teeny tiny, so it looked funny, so
Yeah.
I actually took it out. But I'll reevaluate the attachments, so maybe to provide a little bit more outside of the PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that was my same question, is to take all 5 functional areas and combine them, just so that there's an overall view of the entire operation. So, yeah. Okay. Nadia, anything?
No question. Good job.
Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, so I understand we're framing it, in future quarters, we'll be addressing it. So at quarter 4, will we be seeing kind of the annual, capital budget, the capital forecast, the annual operating?
So CIP, we're planning on doing something specific to that in October, because that's kind of its own budget. It's separate from the functioning. So that's something I did discuss with Paul, and that's something that we are looking into for October. We probably will start presenting in October once a year on the CIP, because I know that's something that Commission has been inquiring about.
Yeah, because I think my specific request was wanting to see the revenue outlay with the approved rate increases, which was aligned for the capital and for the infrastructure improvements, where we stand on that.
Right.
And where we're looking, even in the future too, for the future
Right.
forecast.
And
which I
we
understand
may-
the budgets are.
Right, we may want to consider bringing in the finance director or assistant.
And that's what we talked last
Right,
meeting.
right.
Second question, are the employees in each of the categories, are they fully dedicated to water, or do we have shared employees that split roles with other departments?
Paul?
No, the employees that are dedicated or established in water are actually the water employees. So the ones that we spoke about the budget, they're not necessarily, some of those employees might be working in conservation, but then also helping out in customer service. And likewise, same thing with distribution to production. One thing to note that isn't reflected in this budget is the water fund does support other salaries, specifically fleet maintenance and some of the other functions, some of the administrative functions that the Public Works Director's portion of his salary comes out of the water fund. So there is some layers to that, but it's specific to the O&M, the O&M budget that Ivy's presenting tonight. That's for the water division as itself. So that, again, going back to kind of your comment regarding the CIP or the overlay, that's why we kind of presented the budget, or more so, I think, the schedule of presentation in the first second or slide that Ivy had this evening, to just kind of show that one of the things that we're going to be looking to do is in the second quarter, or one of the next presentations, providing a little bit more of where we stood as far as the annual closeout. One thing that makes it challenging in preparing this report on the frequency that we do it is we're still in the process of doing closeout. So, in fact, end of August will be the final closeout of any invoices up until that July date. So showing any numbers right now would be a little bit challenging. And ultimately, too, the O&M budget and the capital, all they are funded through the water, as you know, the water rates. It's a little bit challenging to show those together because the capital projects are actually overlays over multiple years. So those budgets can sometimes look odd if you're looking at them year to year, because you'll see a $5 million reservoir project or a large project that's only had $300,000 done because we're in the preliminary design phases. So, but yeah, our plan is to provide a full report or update to the capital, and that was going to include the cost to date.
So, what we'd like to see to take advantage of, our commission is, seeing, to your point, that's what we saw last quarter, that a lot of the budget categories were way under because the costing hadn't been applied yet. So in the terms of the capital or CIP projects, understand how that is. I'd like to understand then what is the outlay for the future, years. And even as we see a budget, would like something that give us something to proactively give advice. I mean, looking through the budgets, I see a few things, like we have a $1 million allocation for purchasing water. Well, we know we haven't purchased water in a little while here, which is an opportunity for us to focus and represent the community of what we continue to beat the budget and have our legitimate oversight. So, in presenting the budget in a format that we can make sense of, analyze and share together what opportunities we can focus on in representation for the community. I think that's what we'd like to see.
No, absolutely, and we can definitely present that. And that's one of the, I think, the challenges for me in the position that I'm in is kind of still, I'm still in my first budget cycle. So the one thing in referring to the purchase water and replacement water, and then even assessment water, these are all pretty complex things. We've shared, and Dale and Damien have done a good job of presenting those. But some of those fees, some of those costs are actually kind of, I don't want to say blended, but when you say purchase water is actually water that we're replacing. So it's not metropolitan treated water it might be raw water that we're purchasing. So that water and those purchases aren't made, actually, they're made in the rears. So when we make that purchase, it's based on the assessments of the calendar year or the fiscal year. So that assessment doesn't get levied on us. Those purchases actually aren't made until October. So for this past fiscal year, we'll actually have all of our assessments and our replacement and our purchase water actually, those come in the tune of $2 to $3 million. Those actually come in at the end. So we'll actually be paying those in October. So, but we can definitely present that. I think the one thing too, to the commission's point or the highlight is seeing that pie chart, seeing that overall, and being able to digest it a little bit easier. I will say I need to compliment Ivy's efforts, it was along with our finance manager, Paul Fisher. They spent a lot of time trying to come up, I think if she had presented another pie chart or a line chart to me and the way she wanted to format it. So she did take a lot of effort to wanting to present this because we know that this was something that the commission wanted to see, and we want to be helping, get the advisement from this body. So that was why we kind of phased this plan and kind of try to make sure that we give you guys the tools to help us in managing the water system.
And that's exactly our point. Give us tools that we can use our experience to help frame opportunities and provide guidance, so.
I think it also bears repeating, the complexity of having a 2-year budget. When people look at budgets, they think of, 12 calendar months. So the fact that you've got actually a 24-month budget, how does that play into all the numbers and that people look at and say, well, that's a skew. Well, no, it's really not, because we're in the front end and we've got another 20 months left. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I was going to bring up the same thing Greg did. So last meeting, we talked about, after Ivy's presentation, just to kind of fill you in, we talked about the CIP projects and the rate increase and how it all tied together up to this point. So in Ivy's defense, you did say that you likely wouldn't have that this meeting, and you didn't, and that's fine, that's understandable, because we understand the closeout. But from my recollection, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought we had also talked about, which again is okay that you don't have this now, we get it. I thought we had talked about the rate increase thus far and how much that's helping to contribute to the CIP projects, right? So that being said, is that something that at some point, and whether it's next month or whatever, do you have a way of capturing that? We have the rate increase, how much of that went to the general budget and how much of that was actually allocated for its purpose of the rate increase to go to the CIP budget? So are you able to
Yeah,
decipher that?
and we might need to get some financial help. I might not get all the terms right, but one thing that as far as the rate increase wasn't just specific for the capital overlay. That was the whole entire water operation budget. Obviously, a large portion of that, the $15 million plan for the 5 years was to do those I'm sorry, I misspoke. The $30 million 5-year, I shortchanged this. I already felt staff getting upset with me.
You had me thinking over here. I don't remember a 15.
But that was part of this, and so it wasn't necessarily. I think that's not necessarily the right way of looking at it. Is that the rate increase was solely for the capital? It was because I think one thing is over the last 2 years we've seen increases to not only our pumping cost, and if you go back to the slide and just see the two categories that we have the highest expense of $1 million a piece is the repairs, and then also what it costs to actually pump the water. So I think that's something to take into consideration, is that the rate increase was to reallocate and make sure that each zone, that was why that structure was redone. But then also it was to keep up with the cost. But
Right, no, of course, yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, we're going back a couple of years trying to remember all the conversations we had about that. What was it, 3 years ago? And maybe my recollection is off a little bit. I do understand it was to reevaluate the zones, elevation costs, elevation pumping costs and so forth. And it was to reallocate the rates relative to those things above, amongst others. But my recollection, unless I'm wrong, is that it was also going to help fund the CIP projects at least the first 5 years. That was my understanding, or at least my recollection. So I guess that's where my thoughts last meeting, and possibly Greg's too, was whatever that rate increase may be doing to contribute to that $30 million budget for 5 years. Is it on target? Is it not on target? Or is there a way to even evaluate that? I don't even know.
And that might.
And it may be the finance
and
folks like you said, not you guys.
And I think the direction from the commission is we can go back, work with finance.
Yeah.
It might be even an opportunity since we're now coming into the third, fourth year of, I think it's the third year of the rate increase, of maybe trying to see if we can get some help from finance to represent on what was the goals of the rate, where we are with the rates. Because we are in the process of needing to get into that now, coming in the 2-year budget cycle of reviewing that, seeing where we are. And so we can definitely work with finance on preparing that. And honestly, for myself specifically, that would be helpful to be able to present that to the commission. So we can definitely work on that for
Yeah,
next.
it'd be nice,
And that,
especially-
I think that just to be clear is we'll maintain what we're doing with Ivy's report.
Absolutely,
And almost
yeah.
a standalone for the CIP and funds or kind of the rate overview. We'll present on that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that would be fine for everyone else if that was just a separate category. I mean, what Ivy presented in your plan for the next couple of quarters makes complete sense, right? So if we have to bring finance in as a standalone agenda item, that'd be great. And again, I mean, I assume there's got to be some way to capture what the rate increases are doing relative to that. I'm not a finance guy, so I'm a sales guy, not a finance guy, so I'll leave that up to them. But if they can, again, that goes back to what Greg and I were asking for last month, for whoever can put that together in whatever way that could be dissected and presented.
No, absolutely.
It'd be nice
Yeah,
to see it. We had the rate increase for various things. It'd be nice to see that portion of it. So, other than that, again, great presentation, and I like the idea of your schedule of what you're going to present. I think that makes good sense. So, thank you.
Which leads to a follow-up question as we try to get what the income improvements are with that last rate increase, the capital, our increase in operating expenses. Do we have a feel of when the next rate increase application process may occur, or any feeling for that? Or are we waiting to understand the finances and the income and the CIP before consideration of the next rate increases?
Well, they're turning the lights on, that real spotlight on me now. I don't have that answer. What I can tell you is that operating costs are increasing like everywhere. We're trying to manage that. One of the things that we're doing as staff is reevaluating some of the priorities of the capital. I think one specific area is obviously the water mains, and where we're currently at with that. So I've been working with the team. I think we've been presenting that in some forms and just showing the commission how we're, I guess the best way to put it is refining the way in which we're evaluating our leak investigation, leak repairs. We had presented back, I think last October, how we were going to clearly define what was an emergency, what was after hours. And one of the things that we've been working at staff level is going back and looking at the categorical leaks to understand what is the true condition. You know, we know that the water mains need to be replaced, but to say that we're going to replace everything all tomorrow is not feasible. We'd have a lot of people upset, and I don't think we have $300 million to do it. So I think that's going to play a factor. I know as we look at the 2-year budget, and again, a large portion of that is the cost of pumping, and the cost of pumping is some of the metropolitan costs, some of the Three Valleys, Upper District. Staff has been attending meetings over the last several months, and there are indications that their costs are starting to go up. Their buying power, so to speak, of State Water Project in Colorado is not not keeping up, and that cost is going to come down to back to us as producers. So those costs will be, and those costs, when they increase by 100, 200 acre feet, and we're talking in our production levels, those can be hundreds, if not, millions of dollars. So I think that's what we're going to be doing over the next 6 months, is doing that evaluation and preparing that.
And Paul, all those challenges are facing the community, but for transparency, that's where we want to see the budgets, where we are in the operating budgets, where we are in the capital, so that if we are forced to examine rate increases, we obviously can represent the community appropriately, with our oversight. And so understanding that, we understand the costs are increasing. We have an aged infrastructure, but we want to make sure we can represent the cost of the 5 departments, the cost of the CIP, and then the revenue, of course, associated in it, and what it looks like in the future. So,
No, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And I just, if I can, that's one of our goals, is we're going to try, this was our first attempt at trying to make sure that we're providing you that information, and with the goal of that, continuing that October CIP with that review of the budgets and being able to provide you that. So we can definitely refine that and enhance it.
My recollection was there was an escalating factor embedded in the rate increase. Okay, yeah, I believe there was. Now, as a public agencies, there's legal limitations on what you can do, but as I recall, we had discussions about some escalating factors that we had no control over, that were impacted upon us, by Edison or by Three Valleys or by Metropolitan. We could pass those through. So that's something to clarify, though, for us.
Absolutely.
On top of that, though, I thought I read, because where I was coming from with that is that I thought I read in the presentation somewhere that annual rate increases were tied to the consumer price index, or did I misunderstand? I thought I saw something about that in there.
My understanding, I'm now kind of stepping out of the realm of my expertise, and I unfortunately wasn't a part of our rate increase. So if we do have future ones, obviously, I think I could speak.
I thought that's what I read.
So,
There was something built in there, but taking a look at, what the future holds is prudent on our part.
Yeah.
As commissioners, looking at the budget and the operations, we need to be doing that.
no, and we can definitely bring back a full comprehensive review of that. And I think, maybe this is me being selfish for myself, is being able to present, revisiting the presentations that we did at the rate study period, and revising that to kind of reflect where we're currently at. So we can definitely present that at the next meeting.
And just one last comment, and I'll be quiet after this, is, so where my thought is going with that is everything's going up, right? So if rates are tied to the consumer price index, or if it's not, if rates are going up for whatever manner, and everything's going up, the rate increase was for a multitude of reasons, right? Some folks in higher elevations are getting it more than others. And then if rates do increase, whether it's by the consumer price index or something else, I think it would be good to put that, again, in future presentations, put it on record, so that other residents of Glendora know why we had the rate increase, why future increases are happening, and what that's going towards, right? So I think that'd be good to, and again, if that's the finance folks, that's totally good that it's them. Maybe that's even better that it's them, because I'm sure it's going to elicit more questions from us.
And one thing to note, even if those costs go up right now, we can't raise the rates just arbitrarily. Like they're set for the 5 years. And if we did decide and we presented that, and obviously we're going to present that to the commission, we'll present that to council, and then take that to the public through hearings and the 218 process. So there's a whole multitude. So there wouldn't be this, hey, we need more money and,
No, of
and
course.
we're raising the rates.
But
So I think that,
Yeah. And again, I'm sorry, I know I said it was going to be one last comment, but I actually thought there were going to be scheduled rate increases, not just one rate increase that's going to last 5 years, which is what What you just said made me think, is that what you're talking about?
No, no, so the schedule has been established.
Right.
So I'm not, and I don't,
Whatever
I'm
it is,
sorry, I
number
think
two.
it's every January.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be calling Kyle right after this, so, but every budget cycle, it was established.
Okay, I thought-
And every year it increases.
And we can't change that is what you just meant.
And that's, and what I'm
I got you,
caveating
okay.
is that.
When you
we
said that, I
can't-
thought you meant it was locked in for 5 years, the beginning
The,
rate. That's what I
the,
thought
the
you
rate
meant.
structure is locked in, so that increase is based off of that rate structure.
Okay, okay.
So,
That's my
so there's
understanding.
nothing that, like I was saying, is that if in the next year or two, that within this rate schedule,
Sure.
if there's anything that comes in, the water fund, the budget has to just absorb that.
I got you, okay,
So
okay.
it's.
No, that makes sense now. Now I'm totally
That's-
clear on it.
That's
Yeah.
why the presentation was,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, Ivy spent quite a bit of time on this presentation, presenting it's not an easy, and it's not our specialty. I mean, we know how to,
Sure.
budget, set the budget, spend the money, pay the bills, but when it comes to all of the nuance, I'm gonna say I'm not the expert.
No, absolutely, we understand that. So, thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
So out of the corner of my eye, I saw Nadia taking feverish notes. Do you have any more questions? David? All right, okay, so we could have a motion?
I move to accept the report.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by David, seconded by Pat, to receive and file the update on the Water Division financial update. Can we all vote?
Yes, hold on, so David was first, second was who?
The first was David,
And second?
second was Pat.
Thank you.
Okay, passes 5-0. Great. Thanks, Ivy. Nice report. All right, we'll move on to item number 4 is the Water Conservation Program update. And Armando De Jesus will give us a presentation. Armando.
All righty. Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Tonight, I'll be providing the brief overview showcasing the Water Conservation Program for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 25-26. This slide covers our co-funded rebates with Metropolitan Water District for fiscal year 25-26. On the device side, residents installed 15 irrigation controllers, 2 toilets, 1 hose bib irrigation controller, 15 closed washers, 40 irrigation nozzles, and 2 leak flow monitors. Between NWD and the city, we paid out a combined amount of $28,889 rebated back to our residents. On the turf side, we replaced over 8,300 square feet of grass, with NWD and the city each contributing over $16,232 in rebates per agency. On this slide, the city-run rebate programs. So these are rebates that are not offered through NWD and are exclusive to Glendora Water customers. This past fiscal year, we issued 18 pool cover rebates, 3 landscape design rebates, and 3 landscape installation rebates. We also helped remove over 4,900 square feet of non-functional turf for commercial properties, paying out over $5,200 in rebates and $19,700 total rebate cost for the NFT rebate program. Due to low participation, this program was actually sunsetted back in March of 2026. We did run that program for 2 years, and I believe we only received 4 participants for that program, unfortunately. But we are exploring potential co-funding through NWD's commercial turf replacement program, so we're not completely getting rid of incentives for that. Moving on to our outreach, we kept up our steady presence on social media to share the promotion of the workshop that we hosted on Earth Day, and we also showcased our poster contest winners. This spring, we held our 13th annual Water Awareness Poster Contest. The winners were recognized at the May 14th City Council meeting alongside their parents and their teachers. In April, we celebrated Earth Day with a community event focused on sustainability. Residents enjoyed interactive booths and workshops throughout the day. Staff also used the event to promote drinking tap water, encouraging residents to choose tap water over bottled water. We also partnered with a social media influencer, Jake the Plant Guy, on a workshop called The Secret to Thriving Plants, Less Water, More Growth, teaching residents how to water efficiently and keep their plants healthy. On May 6th, we teamed up with NWD and Green Media Creations for a free hands-on succulent workshop at the LaFacia Center. Participants learned proper planting and care and took a succulent home with them that day. Throughout the summer, our team also joined the Library Summer Discovery Challenge every Thursday, sharing water efficiency tips with kids and adults, including a rock painting activity that will be displayed at the water yard, rock garden, starting next week. So today was the official last day of that program. So not included on this slide, because we literally just had this activity last week, staff also hosted a hands-on succulent workshop for kids at the same event, where we had over 60 participants, so it was really well attended. So we did take a lot of pictures, and we'll make sure to highlight those at the next Water Commission meeting. This slide highlights our 2 active conservation programs with WaterWise Consulting. One is the free water use efficiency surveys and our irrigation retrofit and repair program. The city recently renewed our contract with WaterWise Consulting for an additional year. This means we'll continue to offer water use efficiency surveys to residents who also qualify to participate in our irrigation repair and retrofit program at no charge to them. This quarter, we completed over 21 surveys and performed 10 irrigation retrofits and repairs. Staff continues to participate in co-funding and promoting rebate programs with NWD. NWD contributes $2 per square foot, and the city matches that with another $2 on top of that, for a total of $4 per square foot. And we also participate in the co-funding with device rates, where we match NWD dollar per dollar. On the commercial side, NWD's commercial turf replacement program offers $2 per square foot for commercial, industrial, and institutional properties, and $3 per square foot for public agencies. Our current Census Analytics customer water portal, which allows customers to monitor their water usage, is being phased out by the vendor, unfortunately. Following a competitive request for proposals process to replace the existing platform, staff selected Aquatrax for the replacement of that platform. The current portal still works, but unfortunately, any issues that do arise with technical issues, they're no longer providing any technical support for us anymore, hence why we're looking for a new vendor. So we are expected to go to council for approval either late August or early September. So we have that contract out, and it takes about 6 months from implementation to start the actual program and get it live and active. This slide paints the bigger picture behind everything I've covered tonight. The state has set a long-term reduction target of 15.5% reduction of water by 2040 for Glendora. And everything from our rebates to our outreach events is really working towards making that goal. In short, it comes down to a mix of things working together, helping residents use less water indoors and outdoors, cutting down on system losses, giving people better tools and information through smart metering, and keeping our programs and outreach going year to year. This chart compares monthly water use between our fiscal year 24-25 and fiscal year 25-26. So it does not compare one year to the other. It's fiscal year. Overall, we saw a slight decrease of 0.78% in water usage compared to the previous fiscal year. While annual water use varies from year to year, staff continues to implementing conservation programs that support long-term compliance with the state's urban water use objective. Earlier, I mentioned that Glendora's current estimated reduction is 15.5% by 2040. That estimate is based on the information available today, and it represents the overall reduction needed overall long-term. As the state updates the data and calculations used to determine the urban water use objective, Our estimated reduction may change over time, so this is not the final number. It's just not set in stone yet. So our next urban water use objective report is due December 31st of this year. So sometime in January, we should get our actual final numbers to see if that number fluctuated, either went down or went up. To help us meet the state's urban water use objectives, staff is implementing several new tools, including the California Data Collaborative's Wavelet program, Eagle Aerial Imagery, and the Water Use Efficiency Dashboard Project with Three Valleys Municipal Water District. Wavelet will help us identify high water use properties so we can proactively reach out and offer assistance to help customers reduce their water use and meet their conservation goals. The program will also help identify commercial properties with potential non-functional turf, allowing staff to begin educating affected customers about upcoming regulations that are going to affect them directly. And that the non-functional turf regulation only affects commercial, industrial, institutional properties. The first goal is actually coming up pretty soon for public properties, meaning the city of Glendora and all the schools in Glendora. So that's coming up starting January 1st of 2027. So it's around the corner. Through NWD's Member Agency Administered Program, also known as MAP, grant funding, staff submitted grant proposals requesting a combined of $110,000. This year, these proposed projects would fund a water customer portal, conservation workshops, leak detection devices that will help us find leaks in our main lines a lot faster before they actually start popping up, and electronic message boards and slow release water in backsport city trees. We expect funding decisions for an NWD in the coming weeks. So at the hopefully by the next Water Commission, we will have those decisions available for us to present out to you guys. Looking ahead, mark your calendars for August 15th for our Flashback Classic car show. So our conservation team is there every single year. This year, they've changed up the schedule on us, and they're actually even better for us. So it's not between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Opposed at the traditional time from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. that made for a very long night. So staff is really happy about that. So that concludes my presentation. And then staff asked that Water Commission receive the file, the Water Conservation Program update. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Armando. Greg, any questions? No?
Yeah.
Pat?
Thank you for that, Armando. I do have one question. So water-wise, we've had that program for a couple of years now.
Yes.
What are the results? What are the results? Are you finding that that program has been utilized well enough that it's worth continuing? Or I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I mean, is it being used quite a bit?
It is. Okay. So we've had, this is our third year that we have this contract. This year, actually, between last year, we were actually using NWD. WaterWise also has a contract with an NWD. So we're kind of using both at the same time. So if a resident would request a survey, NWD would actually pay for them. As of March, or February of this year, NWD actually ran out of funding specifically for residential surveys. That's when we stepped in. Okay. So we kind of continue the process. So we do have some residents that occasionally ask us to come back because it's been a couple of 6 months. So with the previous contract with NWD, we would step in and essentially kind of pay for that. So it has paid out, and especially our retrofit irrigation repair program. We do have a lot of residents, unfortunately, that cannot financially afford or don't have anyone that could do that for them. So this program has helped them in making their personal goals and reducing their water usage.
Okay. That was going to be my second question is, of the surveys they did, are they finding in many of those cases or most of those cases that renovations of whatever sort have been necessary?
Yeah, I can't tell you the complete numbers, but I guess I read a report actually last week, one survey, they found over like 25 broken sprinklers. So, and a lot of the time is residents not knowing how to activate their sprinklers and actually run them. So that's why we have these type of programs that we actually do that for them. And then once we locate and find those sprinklers, if it's something simple, of course, they'll go ahead and replace it for them completely free of charge.
Interesting. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Nadia, any questions?
No, no questions. Thanks.
David?
Yeah, I would actually have some feedback to share on WaterWise because we had them come to our house. And they did a nice job on the survey. They did find some broken sprinkler heads. They suggested some improvements. And they're very friendly and they're very helpful. One of the problems we've had is the new sprinkler heads that they have they put out a much more dainty stream. The idea is that it needs to sink, that helps it penetrate the ground better. But we're having really a hard time get it set right so that the grass stays healthy. And the adjustments on them, we had to have them come out once or twice to actually help finally finish the adjustment properly. And they did that. The tech who came out and did the work also told us that they've had complaints about the controller, the auto controller thing on its water conservation mode is not really working too well at keeping the yards satisfactorily green. So it's a little tricky to get the system in there and have it actually work while also conserving water. I wonder if I've actually used more water in the course of the trial and error process than I would have before. So this is just a piece of feedback. I think it's a useful thing to do. The other thing they did is pointed out a defect in our overall, this is a retrofit program.
Yes.
But they pointed out a defect in the baseline design of our yard watering system, that the drip part of it is such a long line going to the back of the house that you can't sustain pressure all the way to the end, and it really isn't working right, and there's no good workaround for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting process to go through. And I'm glad that I did it. I'm a big believer in trying to conserve the water, but we might not be saving as much as we think at first until we get our arms around this.
And we could go back and actually, out of all the surveys that they've done, we could kind of go back and look at consumption uses before and after and compare. And we could do like a analysis of it and present it at the next presentation as well to see what if it actually is working. But just based on most comments from residents that have completed it, they seem like their bills have dropped. I'm not sure how significant, but they seem happy with the service as well.
Okay.
But I appreciate the feedback.
I know there's a hardening effect over the years of all the conservation efforts with low flush toilets and shower heads and what have you. Realistically, how much more can you do to reduce water consumption?
A lot of the efforts right now that we're telling people to reduce indoors and outdoors, but the reality is that outdoors really our biggest water users. Between 60 to 70% of our water in Glendora, everything's going outside. So
Yeah.
the focus is really outdoors. The indoors, every little drop counts. It does really help, but the reality is that if residents are unwilling to reduce their sprinkling habits, that's really where the difficult part of our jobs are.
Well, it does seem like a long ways to go to reach 15.5% reduction, but almost 1% this last year. If you did 1% a year until 2040, you'd pretty much be there
Yes.
at the 15% rate. So if your goal was 1% reduction a year, I think that would be a pretty good accomplishment. So
We're getting there little by little, but we'll get there.
yeah, okay, great.
One last question. Sorry, one last question. So a long time ago, we had talked during this water conservation presentation about folks whose sprinklers are just flowing into the curb, right? And I had called one time about a neighbor it was it was like it was raining down the gutter, right? It was that much water.
It was a neighbor you didn't like.
No, I liked him. He was a nice guy. It's just his front yard is sloped, and so much of that was just coming right back down into the gutter, and it was insane, like how much water it was. So I called the city office, and I was told, and he would water at like 7 in the morning or something like that. So I would see it when I was walking my dog, and they'd say, "Oh well, it's got to be during business hours, so we could drive by and see it ourselves." Okay, I know we talked about it, and I don't remember what that was. So there's a new neighbor that moved in recently. And same thing, just the sidewalks are being watered and the curbs, everything. So what is the process for reporting that? And can it be any easier than, what's the process for reporting where you're seeing water waste? I guess that's my question.
Currently, we are doing two things. We are actually doing patrolling during the daytime. And if a city employee sees it, that's when we actually are contacting the resident directly, where we are leaving door tags and following up with an actual letter to them as well. We do get a lot of phone calls, such as like the example you mentioned of neighbors kind of telling, okay, I'm seeing this. The difficult part of our job is if we are in one side of the city and then we have to get to the south side of it, but
Right.
by the time we get there, it's kind of done. So we do have to kind of follow up on times and kind of continue be going out there. The way we do our patrolling or citation, I guess I should say, it's that in order for us to think of it like going to court, we have to have actual evidence.
Sure.
And city employees usually are the ones that are going out there and taking pictures and documenting instead of just going out there saying, well, your neighbor said this, because we've had a lot of those in the past. So we've had the procedures that city employees would have to go out there. But the city actually recently created a new app that you could actually go out there. There is a conservation aspect on there, and it does allow you to submit requests like this too and take pictures. So
Okay.
that actually really helps us a lot, especially things that are happening off hours. We get residents
Right.
telling us that their neighbors watering at 3 o'clock in the morning, and obviously, fortunately, we're not available
Right.
in those times. So things like that does help us.
And that was one of the things that came up when I called. Is I said, "What if I send you photos? Can I send somebody photos?" No, we have to come see it. And that was a couple years ago. So, yeah, obviously you're not going to say the neighbor said this or that, but if there's photos, right? And just in my little pocket off of Gladstone, my little neighborhood, there's multiple folks who are just wasting water. So, so aside from that app, if somebody just provided you photos, would that be enough to at least maybe not send a citation, but at least send a letter saying, we know about this, or does it have to be a city employee going there?
We do take that in consideration. So instead of sending an actual violation letter,
Right.
we actually contact them directly and let them know we did not witness it ourselves, but it has been reported that you have a broken sprinkler shooting up 10 feet in the air. It is located in this area, just letting you know. And then we remind them about the city regulations and please go ahead and comply within 48 hours and fix it. And we do follow us with them as well.
Okay, so let's say that one of my neighbors, not me, wink, wink, sees this. What do you recommend the process to be? Just call you guys and just start the conversation, or what do you think?
Yeah, they could call us, or they could use the city app again, because like I mentioned, if a resident on the south end of town and we happen
Right,
to
yeah,
be in the
yeah, yeah.
office, it's going to take us at least 10 to 15 minutes for us to
Of
get
course,
there.
yeah.
So if they happen to see it, they're more than welcome to take a picture and then actually upload it up on the app, and then we'll get that notification right away. That way we can start communicating
Sure.
with that, because we don't want that to continue happening for another week or two, and then we're trying to help them. So we approach it more in an educational way. We're not going to give them a citation.
No, of
or
course,
anything.
yeah,
It's more
yeah.
of a, hey, just you have a broken sprinkler, you might want to fix it as soon as possible.
I just wonder if some of them. You go out there, they got to see the water all over the place, right? You would think, and some of them just may not think twice about it. That's just the way it is. What it is, right? That's the way the sprinkler is. So, okay,
And that's our main objective, just to
Very good.
educate and let them know.
okay, all right, thank you.
I think we know that the biggest conservation is the outdoor irrigation aspect of it. So with a lot of people irrigating at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, we might want to rethink our operating patrol procedure. You're going to work an 8-hour day or a 10-hour day, whatever it is, but maybe you start at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because if we're going to reach that 15.5%, we need to get that through the irrigation savings.
Right.
So,
And with this new customer service portal app that we're currently pursuing, we're hoping that it does have the capacity of it actually providing a report for those residents that are overwatering or watering consistently every single day. That way we can start kind of targeting, I guess, those kind of residents, having those communications.
Through the AMRs, aren't you able to monitor, say, some high users that are potentially wasting water?
We can, but currently with the current software that we have right now, because it's outdated,
Okay.
it no longer tells us without us having to physically look at every single account
Okay.
manually. So there's over 13,000 accounts. So we're having to kind of randomly look at addresses, or when residents call us, let us know.
Yeah.
But we're hoping this new software kind of help that and expedite that.
All right.
Armando, is there any clarifications or specifications in our city codes that clarify what water waste is?
Yes, basically any water that goes down into the street.
So that's in our city code.
Is in a city.
So it could also use code enforcement to enforce this not only beyond just the water department, right?
Correct. So most residents will call us directly if it happens to be during a week. Then code enforcement actually does go out there, but we do have a relationship, so we do call us. We do communicate with each other. So if it's something that it's out of their bounds or they want us to kind of step in, they do take pictures for us too. That way we could jump in and talk to that resident.
And one thing, if I can add, those prohibitions are outlined in the conservation ordinance in those phases that we're in. So that kind of dictates that as well, as far as when we're the goals that we're trying to reach with the water savings. So and ultimately, I think the biggest thing, we're not trying. The water department, the city doesn't want to be weaponized as a kind of a neighborhood feud. So that's sometimes why we don't want to, go off of neighbors' words. I've personally been, told you need to shut their water off because, I don't like them, kind of things. Like so, it's one of those challenges, and the app is a good tool. The patrols, we're definitely up. But the education piece, I think that's what we're trying to get the awareness, and the software. It's unfortunate that they no longer support it, but staff did their due diligence. Actually, the software is we still have access to it, but we were notified about that sunset date, and instead of waiting for that to completely expire, we got ahead of that. So those are going to be some really good tools, and we'll continue to look at. And as also too, as the state starts to levy some of the new restrictions, it may require us to take further action and implement further restrictions that kind of bolsters us. We do have, as much as some of the visual things and the prohibitions, there is some limitations to what we can and can't do. So, but unfortunately, if we don't start hitting these goals, that's going to be levied on us. So. But the efforts that Mondo and the team are doing in a lot of the conservation efforts, you can always do more, but we're doing great work. So I want to commend staff in that.
All right, could I have a motion to receive and file the Water Conservation Program update?
I motion it.
It's moved by Greg, seconded by
A second.
David. Let's vote. Recommendation to receive and file Water Conservation Program update, it passes 5-0. Okay, moving on to item number 5 is the quarterly water production update. Water Division Manager Damian Martinez is going to give us a report. Damian.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through the quarterly water production update. We're going to cover a couple of different areas that haven't been covered in the past. Been covered maybe over just pieces here and there. I want to start by going over the system overview, so to get a picture of what the system that we maintain and operate kind of looks like. Let's see if I get this right. Wrong way, huh? There it is. So, this is kind of an outline of what we're going to be talking about tonight. System overview, the SCADA system operation and maintenance, SCADA system water quality instrumentation, reservoir inspections that are upcoming, and then thirdly, we'll go into some of the water supply, hydraulic, hydrologic, and imported water conditions in the city's water production. So let's start with the big picture. On average, we're producing about 3,745 million gallons a day. Our system includes 10 wells and then serves and several key connections, 3 from MWD and 1 from Covina Valley Water Company. Those connections are imported water, surface water connections that are used to support and supplement the city's water demand. We store in 29 reservoirs with a total, we have storage in 29 reservoirs with a total capacity of about 35 million gallons. On the distribution side, we maintain 247 miles of pipeline, 16 pump stations, 17 pressure zones, and 64 water quality sample stations. It's a pretty large and complex system, a lot of moving parts, and things break. Needs to be maintained. So moving on to the SCADA system. SCADA is if I'm not familiar with the SCADA system it's the supervisory control and data acquisition system. It helps us maintain real-time monitoring of the wells and reservoirs in our production system. Without that tool, we would have to man each station manually and turn them on and off as demand needs it, calls for it. This quarter, there were several improvements. We cleaned up the asset naming, improving functionalities, added accurate live tank volume calculations, and refined chlorine level alarms. We're also making ongoing security updates and performing required Windows and software updates on both SCADA servers that the city operates. We have a redundant SCADA server. On the water quality side, we're continuing to use Hawk analyzers. We have the Hawk SL1000 handheld analyzers. Those are tools that are used to monitor water quality out in the field. These give us advanced analytics out in the system, helps us stay on top of real-time conditions of what the water quality is daily. We also have 2 inline Hawk CL17 chlorine analyzers. So the chlorine analyzers are located at the San Gabriel plant, and the second one is at Well 13 chlorine room. They provide continuous chlorine monitoring and are connected to the SCADA system so we can see what the chlorine level is that's being injected into the system in real time. We're moving forward with the next cycle of reservoir inspections, which happen every 3 to 5 years. We cycle through different groups of reservoirs per year. It ties in with our regulatory compliance. We used to use for many years a company by the name of DiveCore. DiveCore is no longer business. Gentleman retired, so now we are sourcing out a new company through an RFP, through the RFP process. There is newer technology now out there, such as drone, like ROV, they're remotely controlled submarines, that have advanced tools and measuring devices, such as LiDAR or thickness of the material, like metal thickness, scanning tools. And of course, you get high definition video, and they can also do some cleaning minimally. These inspections also include, cathodic protection. So we're looking at how the degradation of the tanks is occurring, which allows us to consider relining or doing component replacement as needed. Looking at rainfall, so for the state as a whole, due to the previous rain year, or actually we're currently in the rain year, we had a very strong rainfall event, as you all are aware, which has led the state with a higher than average overall water storage, which is very good news for the entire state. This, as you can see in the graph, there's if you see prior years, they're pretty bleak. So we continue to go through these cycles of rain and then drought events. So the state does continue to, as a whole, continues to try to maintain reservoir levels as high as possible and continue to promote conservation efforts, because we are in a drought cycle, wet seasons and drought cycles. So this is another view of kind of zooming into our region. So for the South Coast, we actually are above average. We're at 105% of historic rainfall. Statewide precipitation has been variable, like I mentioned. So there are big swings. So it looks good right now. It's supposed to be it sounds like there's going to be a super El Nino winter coming up, so there'll be even more water. And then, who knows what the future holds, but usually they cycle pretty drastically down to, going into pretty severe droughts, as, all of us are aware. This is another image of what that water supply outlook looks like. As you can see, 2024, there was substantially less water. So 2026, 25, 26, there is more. We're above average, like I mentioned. Moving into import water. There has been an interruption in the import water deliveries. Deliveries resumed briefly in March, but were halted again in May due to the quagga and golden mussel concerns. At this time, we are not receiving any water through USG3. Three Valleys is also did not make any deliveries through USG3 to the San Gabriel Basin this last quarter. No spreading in operations occurred through PM26, Dalton Wash, San Dimas Siphon, or Little Dalton. So moving on to the Cogswell Reservoir, and there's a series of images like I had previous quarters on these reservoir levels. As you can see, Cogswell is above historic averages. It's at 184% of historic average for this date. So doing very well, which is allowing the region to have water. So even though we're not importing water through USG3, the city is able to capture, through these reservoirs, water into our system. So it's been good. The San Gabriel Reservoir currently is, as you can see, has no water. That is intentional. The LA County Flood Control is doing cleaning of that behind the dam. If you go up there, it's pretty dry. There's a lot of movement up there. They're trying to clean up and drench or trying to remove as much of the material and has settled. So if you recall, last time I presented some of these images, there was a prior last time, there was a lot of, when we had the rain event, there was a lot of debris. They looked like twigs, but there were big trees there's just massive amounts of debris, trees that settled. All those have been pulled. They're continuing to pull them out. It's a multi-million-dollar venture that they're conducting there. And so there's also settlement that came down. A lot of that had to do with previous fires that had occurred. So all that needs to be removed to create more capacity for the next rain event. So that's why you see San Gabriel Reservoir at basically very little water going through. There are some minimum requirements that have to flow through to keep for wildlife reasons, to keep fish or birds, et cetera, with water. And so next you'll see Morris Dam, the same situation. I don't have a little graph there for this one, but it's the same, virtually same situation. There's no water coming down San Gabriel, so there's no water in Morris Dam. And Morris Dam is down to like 3 feet of water. Moving into the Colorado projects and snowpack information. Statewide snowpack peaked. It's very low this year. It got pretty warm pretty quick. So there was snow earlier in the year, not anymore. There's only about 4% of normal since, if you look back to June, I think that's when I took this data from. Lake Powell and Lake Mead continue to sit at historical low levels, 24 and 29% respectively. So, in kind of circling back to the good news is that California does have substantial amount of storage. We're at 90, as a whole, we're at 90% of capacity statewide, which translates to the State Water Project allocation slightly increasing for this year. So we're at 45%. That was set in May 15th, 2026. And here's another rendering of Lake Mead and water levels and how they, it's hurting. There's not enough water. So groundwater levels at the Baldwin Park Key well have dropped a bit. It's dropped to 267 feet in March to 258 feet now in July. So that is within its normal operating range. So the normal operating range for the Baldwin Park Key well is 220 feet to 260 feet. So we're actually sitting above what normally our normal operating averages are. So again, contributing factor is the heavy rain events and the high storage levels that we have in our reservoirs. For the city water production, this past quarter, the city did take in 51 acre feet of treated water from Covina Valley Water Company. It was strategic. It was due to the city has 40 acre feet that are allocated per fiscal year, and it has a 3-year rolling average. At year 3, those 40 acre feet go away. So we were at that threshold of losing 40 acre feet allocations. So we needed the water. We can always take the water, and so we were able to take 51 acre feet. We still have a banked allocation that we can still draw from for this next year. Some key notes here to point out. In comparing year over year, June saw a large increase, jumping from about 963 acre feet last year to over 1,200 acre feet for this year. And that's in production, so that's contributed to consumption. So as you saw in the previous presentation, there was a higher consumption, so we have to produce more water to meet demands. And with that, recommendation to receive and file this quarterly water production update. And I'm available for any questions.
All right. Thanks for the update, Damian. Nadia, any questions?
Sure. Just out of curiosity, what is the city doing with the quagga mussels? Are you working closely with the agencies?
So regionally, at USG 3 connection and outflow, there was a quagga mussel found. So that by the LA County flood control. So that caused that connection to be shut down until further notice. So that's what the issue is. Because of the concern that it can contaminate, jump into other reservoirs or other bodies of water, they basically aren't allowing any water to continue to flow in there at the moment. Regionally, with the help with Watermaster and other local purveyors, we are working to try to come to a resolution of some mitigation. There is a plan to mitigate. It is a regional effort, so it doesn't just affect City of Glendora. So we do participate in those discussions, and we're actively trying to, come to some measure of mitigating that quagga mussel. Yeah.
And you mentioned there are 29 reservoirs in the
Yes.
city. Just out of curiosity, how old are these reservoirs?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. We have varying ages in our reservoirs. Paul, do you know how old the oldest reservoir is?
I believe that the oldest reservoir we currently have, and I don't have this off the top of my head, but is in the 50s. They average from the 1950s to 1960s. Some of our newer reservoirs that were just installed, I believe 2018 was the most recent reservoir, and we're in the process of designing the replacement of the North Glendora Reservoir. So, yeah, they range in age and size. So we have 7 million gallon reservoirs all the way to 20,000 gallon reservoirs and some hydrostatic pump stations. So the portfolio of the distribution system's quite vast. But just one thing, Damian did a great update on the quagga and the golden. One thing to note is with the Canyon Basin being our primary source, one issue that the county has brought to our attention, this was actually just in the last week or so, they made us aware that they have found quagga mussels in the basin and in some of their infrastructure. And that previously the focus was, as we had been reporting, on the golden mussel. So they're looking into, they've been actually working with Watermaster and actually having some metropolitan laboratory sampling done. So there's a multitude of agencies that are working on that. And one of the things that we're working on, or Watermaster, Three Valleys, and Upper District are working on behalf of the producers, is a mitigation plan with the county to reactivate the county facility. So that mitigation plan was focusing primarily on the county, or I'm sorry, the Canyon Basin as a primary. San Gabriel Municipal Water who has a conveyance line that feeds into that. They're actually starting to do some treatment. They're working with Department of Water Resource on permitting of it's an algicide, but that's proving to be effective. So they're doing pre-treatment on their whole entire conveyance line. And so that testing is underway. I believe they've been doing that for the last month or so. So there's a lot of agencies, there's a lot of investment into the canyon or into the San Gabriel spreading. So it's going to be something we'll continue to update the commission on.
Thank you for the presentation. 2 questions. The dive reservoir inspection, can you explain? I have an idea what that is, but can you just explain what that actually entails?
Of course. Thank you for the question, Commissioner. So that entails, historically, it entails a certified, qualified diver that goes into the reservoir tank and with some camera and some other equipment to inspect the inside of the tank.
Interesting. How often do they do that?
So the city does that every year.
Every year? Okay.
So because we have 29 reservoirs, we stagger which reservoirs get
Oh, gotcha.
reviewed. Again, 3 to 5 year turnaround. That's what we're trying to keep within that window to meet regulatory compliance.
So they'll all be inspected within the 3 to 5 years and then just repeat again? Gotcha. Okay. And then one last question. So the cleaning of the San Gabriel Reservoir, I know it was from a lot of the debris from the fires and all that, but is that also something that needs to be done on a regular basis, or is that just situational as it's needed?
That is a long-term planning effort that from what I understand, and Paul can probably give you more details on that, but that, from what I understand, that is it's gonna be continuous. They planned for it over a long period of time. It's multi-million dollars, and again, it's to clear out that debris and create capacity for the next rain event. When the next rain event occurs, then they'll again assess and consider re-dredging that behind that dam again if necessary. But it is a multi-year effort. So it's from now, I think it was Paul, 5 years that they're going to be doing continuous.
Yeah, no, it was in result of the Bobcat and Station Fire. The county allocated a maintenance project beyond what their normal, and they had originally scheduled for 3 years. They're actually extending that for they just announced that they will be extending that project because of the continued runoff. And like Damian was saying, it's not just the tree debris, but it's also the silt. It eliminates the capacity in the actual reservoir. So typically the county will do summertime or non flood season maintenance, but this is a multi-year project where they're actually going in there and they extended their contract to do that work. So they've been it's quite the operation they have up there. They're a series of trucks.
I would encourage everybody to take a drive up there and take a look. It's amazing. They look like little tiny cars, but they're massive.
I'm going to have to check with Dale to see if he's going to do one of his guided tours again one of these days.
We talked about that last,
we
especially
did,
with
yeah.
Nadia being new. A field trip to see the pumping stations and the reservoirs would be very nice.
I mean, have you done one of those with them?
It's been a couple of years
Yeah,
at
it
least.
was like
so-
4 years ago, I think, when I did it.
Yeah, and not for Nadia, it was a very memorable thing to get familiar.
Oh, you did tour all that too? No, I'm not. Oh, you have not? Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, we'll be. Okay, well, I'd love to join when you guys do. Yeah, if you can include some photos on the next one, just
Yes.
love to see how it's progressing. Is it going to be still empty by the next quarterly meeting?
It's probably
Well, I mean, aside from rain, yeah.
We missed Dale's pictures of the.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, love to see those again next quarter if you guys can. All right, thank you.
You know, the diver retired after 30 years, so it's open if you want to switch,
No.
you want to dive tanks in a reservoir?
Yeah.
Do I look very buoyant over here? No,
No sharks.
not me. No sharks.
No, no other questions, thank you.
You know, no questions?
Thank you, Commissioner.
David? Of course, I always have a few. Your peak summer demand, you said your average is like 3,700 gallons or million gallons a day, but what is your peak summer demand? It must be something higher, maybe on the order of 10,000.
Thank you for the question, Chair. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it is higher. We actually just went through that exercise.
The average demand, or the peak demand as of right now, is about 13 to 14 million.
Okay. And that's why you've got the reservoir storage. Are you keeping it full, or is it half full and the reservoir is all you?
Well,
you have?
we typically have different operations of the wintertime to the summertime. We especially in some of the high fire danger areas, we try to keep those at a 75%, but we do cycle those down, and then demand has a play in that. But the fortunate part about our system is we do have the pumping, the redundancy in pumping. So if there was a need to increase that, but typically we fill them up, let them float, or kind of lower themselves down, and then we refill them at a certain on and off point. So what the goals are for the summer are usually increased, but it just depends on the reservoirs. That we have 17 pressure zones, so it just really depends on which zone it is.
So you don't have a nitrification problem in your reservoirs?
Not as of right now. We're free chlorine, and so that's part of why we do draw the tanks up and down to cycle those over. But as we had mentioned, I think the last, we're in the design phases of doing some nitrification or nitrate analyzers for some of the wells, or the reservoirs and wells, and then also the mixers. So the tank mixers that we're looking to put into, I believe it's about 8 of the reservoirs, will help with that circulation. And doing that'll actually allow us to not have to cycle the reservoirs as deep, or as kind of up and down.
Okay, great. And you always talk about the main basin and the water level in the main basin, but what about the Canyon Basin, which supplies the St. Gabriel plant? Is the Canyon Basin in pretty good shape as well?
Canyon Basin right now is doing really well. As Damien had reported, with the local releases, even though we haven't had any imported untreated water, we have had quite I think currently the inflow in the canyon was 60
64.
64 CFS. So the canyon bases are almost full. I would say probably about 80% full right now.
And I hate to say, they've never found any mussels in the local runoff coming out of the canyons, have they?
Well, no, that's what the Public Works facility or team just reported to us that they have found quagga in the Canyon Basin. So if you recall, about 8 years ago, there was an issue that came up with Metropolitan where quagga water got into the canyon or into USG3, and there was a release of a period of time, and it caused everyone to do some testing. Watermaster led that. We actually did testing. There was no signs of those, so that's part of what they're looking at right now is where that might have come from. And ultimately, and I think one thing I do want to make sure is the mussels are not a water quality issue, they're a maintenance issue. Just like you see at the ocean, they start to build up on some of the infrastructure. So the concern is not necessarily if they're going to have an impact to our groundwater or any water source for that matter, but it's the county's maintenance of this as a reoccurring. So Metropolitan's experienced this with Lake Mead. on some of the intakes. I've seen some of those pictures, and it's pretty impressive how fast they can actually accumulate.
All right, very good. So could I have a motion to approve or receive and file the water production updates?
Motion?
Been moved by Pat, seconded by
Second.
Greg. Let's vote. And it passes 5-0 to receive and file. Okay, moving on to item number 6 is the fiscal year 25-26 water distribution update, fourth quarter. And Water Division Manager Del Wirt's going to give us a report.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. I'm here to report on the fiscal year 25-26 water distribution update for the fourth quarter. This is a mainly comparison for the 25-26 fourth quarter. The dark green represents 2025, and the orange color represents 2026. For April, we're slightly higher than we were last year, and the remaining 2 months of the quarter were definitely lower. Overall, between this year and last year, in those fiscals, we are lower. 68 total for 2025 and 54 for 2026. These are the main leak history comparisons between 3 fiscal years, but we've pulled them out and given you descriptions of what those leaks are. So on the left, we start with 25-26, and we work our way to the right, and then in 23-24. Main leaks for fiscal year 25-26 totaled 46, for 24-25, 44, and for 23-24, 49. So we're pretty much on an average there. The main one to look at will be the service lines. We've had 8 service lines leaks and repairs within this quarter for 25-26, but respectively for 24-25-20 and 23-24-22. Fire hydrants also had no leak repairs done on fire hydrants for this quarter for 25-26. 24-25 we had 4, and 23-24 we had 2. For the service lines, I attribute that to a few of the capital projects that were completed in which we were having some more frequent service leaks. And so that's really helped. So as the capital projects continue to be done, we anticipate some change in the number of main leaks and or the number of service leaks as well. This is a 3-year comparison. I have to apologize, there is an error in May. The green bar represents 2024. It's actually too short. That one should read 22 for May, 16 in this quarter for May. Also in June, that bar is 26 for 2025 and 14 for June. This is just a reflection of the previous numbers in a graph. I'll try to do better graph. I saw another one in Mondo's I'm going to steal. All right. This was our country club main break. For those of you, of course, y'all live in town, probably noticed this one. This occurred on April 27th, approximately between 2:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon. Crews worked diligently and quickly. We had the water off and isolated within 30 to 40 minutes. Seems like a long time, but it's actually a pretty short period of time. This was a 12-inch cast iron water main from 1967. It took us approximately 13 hours from the beginning of the start of the repair to the time of charge. Time of charging, that means we're putting water back into the pipe. The news has been LADWP as of late, similar type of style, working through the night with crews and people on board just to get everything done from the repairs to all the required sampling and flushing that needed to be done. We started at 3:30. By approximately 9 a.m. the next morning, we were beginning to restore water service. Approximately 80 homes were affected there. Total about 28 hours, including the street mediation, which we'll take a look at. in a moment. On the left is the repair. That's a 12-inch ductile iron main attached with what they consider flex couplings or Romax couplings, which allow a degree of deflection based on where the pipe location was. That wrapping is a new way of installation. It's a 10 millimeter plastic wrap that's for corrosion protection. On the right, you can see the crews assembling the last other section or side of that main. Yeah, it's a little over 11 feet of new main. And that new requirement for the wrap came about in the 2000s. So some of the main breaks you'll see in the prior reports and previous reports with the older mains don't have this type of protection. That is the main that was removed. On the left, you can notice the large piece missing, but if you pay close attention, there is a semi-circumferential lateral crack that runs across that main. On the right side is the portion that blew out. Couldn't find anything as far as manufacturer defect. In fact, the pipe is so old, the outside corroded. It wasn't no specific factor except for possibly a break at one of the bell ends on this pipe caused the blowout, which was on the left-hand side of that water main. That piece on the right-hand side is approximately 5 feet long. Country Club Drive also included the restoration of that intersection. It is a highly traveled intersection. I didn't realize it till working it. You have a thoroughfare from Route 66 down to Foothill Boulevard. You have the Country Club Golf Course. You also have the route to two schools, the high school and the middle school, which traffic is pretty high there. There was a need to over-excavate this entire section and recompact and refill in order to stabilize the current condition. If you look on the right-hand side, it was a specifically large area of repaving. That paving was completed and done by 5:30, so within less than 28 hours, less than 24 hours, or the 28 hours, we were done with the complete project. This patchwork is temporary. We're going to allow it to settle for 3 to 6 months due to the high volume of water. One of the things that you may have seen on TV from Metropolitan was the same as us. We had enough water pressure that the water made its way between the asphalt and the subsurface and it had lifted it quite a lot. We will revisit this again, probably another 3 or 4 months, and then have a grinding cap put back on there. This is Dalton Avenue. It's also another main break that occurred. This main leak started when a patch repair was being done. Permanent patch repair was being done by a contractor. We got called out on it. We began to dig and excavate. The soil, and this is a 1961 6-inch main. On the left-hand side, you'll see kind of a little stub out of a T. Had a cap welded on there. That cap failed. This was a little odd in the sense that it has less than 6 inches of ground cover and asphalt over the top of it. This water main actually crosses a storm drain just south of Finkbeiner Park on Finkbeiner and Wabash. The photo on the right, how they repaired it is they cut that stub off. They put the clamp on. Upon recharging it, they had a few more leaks come in, so they had to add a few more clamps. We have a stormwater project at Finkbeiner Park, which includes addition of some new water main across the park, and we're working with that particular project to see if we can get some of this water main also relocated and replaced to prevent any further leaks there. Shortest one of the evening. I recommend you file this report, and I take any questions.
So you referenced West Hollywood, I think you did. What happened and can that happen here? And what happened in West
In this
Hollywood?
particular case, a lot was reviewed. He mentioned SCADA is what we can go back and look at how things were operating in the system. We didn't see any anomalies like pressure fluctuation or some sort of impact to the system that may cause water hammer. Sometimes it happens over time. The earth is the earth. In this particular case, if you're familiar with the intersection, it is sloped. So it's possible that over time that it just developed some stress in that main from moving and eventually gave way. It's not as old as the one that was in West Hollywood, but it does have some age to it. The interior of that pipe was really good. The mortar lining that was inside, we took some pictures and camera up both sides before we put it back together, make sure it was clean and ready for service. So I was impressed with the interior. But that's probably more likely it had some sort of outer stress applied to it over time. That pressure there is not really high, probably mid-range, somewhere between 50 and 80 pounds. So it does take some pressure.
Would we have any place in Glendora that could have the same situation that we just saw happen last week?
Main breaks to main breaks, we do have large lines here. So I don't, technically it's where the mains are at. In West Hollywood, it's super tight, super congested as far as properties. Substructures like the parking garages and the bus depot that got flooded, I don't think we really have that here. In this case, most of it ran down, ran down the side streets and further down, I can't remember the name. It's not Lorraine, getting confused. But Amelia, so it ran down Amelia, which is a downhill run, into the storm drains there.
And I guess my final point, as we look at our CIP, is there any analysis on the catastrophic situations like we saw in West Hollywood to prioritize our improvements?
I was here for the first round when they did the assessment. They used some leak prediction equipment and software in order to look at those. We're working with Paul to reevaluate that, and also Damien, and to install some more monitoring equipment, both for pressure and for leak detection, and that should help make it more robust. Sometimes it is what it is. There could have been a minor flaw in that pipe that was never caught, and then over time it came out. But again, age, location, right, material, and then how many leaks it has, how many repairs. Those are all considerations that we take into when we look at the CIPs.
If that ever happened in Glendora, is Glendora covered by a separate insurance to cover the damages, or is that coming out of the Glendora General Fund? Do we know?
We do have we actually just joined a new, I believe it's called Prism, insurance pool. So that would, anything like that would come out of that, dependent on the value. I think there's a premium or a deductible, but just going back to the leak, I think one thing that can be noted is we don't have any riveted steel line. I mean, the construction of that line, it was, we do have older lines. We have lines from the 1930s. I think we even have some lines from the 1920s. But one thing to note is riveted steel line, that's the only thing that's kind of older than that in construction is redwood mains. That's not to say that I think one thing Dale had mentioned in his report is the age of the 12-inch line that failed in Country Club. That's 1961, and yeah, that's 50, 60 years old, but that's in the scheme of things when it comes to infrastructure in California, it's not old. And it's cast iron pipe is brittle, but is very durable. And when we did the assessment, one of the things that took into place that Dale touched on was the Water Master Plan did an evaluation and a risk of failure. And that took into account type, velocity, a lot of different factors, and also leak history. We went back immediately because we wanted to kind of really assess that. That segment of pipe was not identified as high risk. And so that kind of just says, as we continue to reevaluate this, we can't look at the Water Master Plan as this static document that now just kind of collects dust, and we kind of refer to it every once in a while when we want to go and find something to do. But we've got to continue to look at that, and that kind of goes back to the enhancements and the categorization. The tools that we're starting to really enhance is the GIS, the capturing of the data. We're even looking at trying to enhance or refine some of the categorical information that the field, when we're collecting, we're going and doing that repair, that's the greatest opportunity for us to evaluate the water main. So doing that assessment, getting that repair, addressing whether it's just a service line repair, a fire hydrant leak, if we're exposing the pipe, it's an opportunity for us to do an evaluation. And that information, as we're kind of enhancing our processes and some of the systems we're using, we'll now be able to start utilizing that. But just kind of going back to your question on if this could happen to us, we could have an issue. I would not say that we would have an issue of this magnitude. The largest line that we have is our transmission main from the plant to the water yard at Goddard. That line was just recently replaced. It's not to say that lines can't fail that are new. Yeah, going all the way from Azusa Avenue over to Goddard Middle School. That 30-inch line is probably the biggest line that we have besides the line that runs from Sierra Madre down basically Glendora Avenue that we consider to be the crosstown feeder. That line is actually part of the next round of CIPs with the Glendora Avenue street and water improvement. So that line, we've had some leaks on its 18-inch line, but it is a mortar-lined steel main that was installed, I believe, in the mid-'60s. So it's not an older line. Again, that's a factor, and I think that one of the issues, and I'll kind of go to DWP's defense a little bit, is that sometimes you have challenges. I heard on the news that they said, well, we were trying to find a good time, the newscaster was saying they should have found a good time to shut it down. I don't know when Sunset Boulevard would be a good time to shut it down, but that is one of those challenges. And you kind of I saw the video of that, how that escalated. It wasn't like it had been leaking, a trickle down it broke, it sheared. And so sometimes that just kind of act of God kind of happens.
And now they have more leaks on the line too. They found.
And that was one of the issues that we saw, was because of the sheer volume that we did have. We didn't have anything nearly, but we did have some service leaks nearby that appeared within the next week to 2 weeks. I think there was a total of 2 or 3 that came up that were very suspect if in the proximity. So the assumption is that when you have that kind of a break and that kind of velocity through the pipe, no matter what pipe you design, it's not meant to have that flow.
Two things. Oh, Lord, I just lost my train of thought. I knew I should have wrote down what my second thing was going to be. The first thing was going to be,
Don't worry, we'll come back to you.
I know, right? Well, the one I did write down, smartly enough, I know we talked about it before, and I guess this might be more of your thing. So we used to get the city engineer in here that would give us the list of CIP projects and their status, but it's been a long time, it seems like, since we've gotten one of those. Is that something that could be incorporated again? I don't even know if you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, no, I believe we, back last October, because I remember that was one of my first reports in kind of settling in, was the CIP. Malia, our city engineer, used to do the CIP. The plan is, you're stuck with me, so we're going to be giving those in October, where all of the comprehensive CIP projects, and in enhancing that for the commission, will include as part of that the financials.
Okay, yeah. And she didn't go into great detail. I just remember there was a chart, but it would just list the projects in the various status, and it was just nice to see all the different things that are going on. Love to see that again.
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
And okay, I thought my other one. So the big leak, the Country Club Drive, I think it was that city employees that did that, or was that your vendors that took care of it?
No, to get the speed, we hired a vendor, a contractor to come out and do it.
Why is that?
Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's equipment. This one was a little bit of both. And we were holding our guys in reserve to do the actual water quality portion of it, get the lines back up, get the flushing, sampling, and all that done. Again, that sampling and all that started about somewhere between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. They ran 5 hours in to about 9 o'clock in the afternoon to get that done to restore water service. That would have taken every asset I had to get that job done, and the energy and the effort that would have been put forth. I mean, it would have just been a little bit of a drag for us to go do the whole thing. So we had round tabled probably maybe an hour, hour and a half into it. Took the guys back to the yard, came up with a game plan, had the contractor come out and start working on it, send everybody home and ready to come back at any moment to get that line back up. So sometimes we have to weigh the difference between us doing it and somebody else kind of coming out and doing it.
So then going on what Greg was asking about, if we ever had something major, you would, is it safe to say you'd probably follow that same type of strategy?
Sometimes
If for something even bigger?
Yes, sometimes it depends. We're the first responders. We're going to try to help prevent any type of damage to life or property first. That's our main concern. Once we get that under control and we can start to assess it, at that point, within an hour, I think we had already made the decision to get the contractor rolling, because once we open it up, we don't know what's there either. And even if we rotated us 5, 6 hours, 8 hours, the contractor 8 hours to keep this working, because sometimes, just like in that, I'll give you a quick example to keep everything short. That small crack in that pipe could have ran laterally 20, 40 feet, depending upon what happened in there. Yeah. So if you're consistently working, you're going to have that. So a lot of kind of quick thought goes into process, and I'm having some key conversations with Paul and Damien and a few other supervisors to kind of lay that out. But again, for us, if we can find that way to be more efficient, we'll go ahead and take that step. Also, for the water quality side, internal employees is the best. More familiar with the area, water quality in general, where all the sampling is going to occur, where to get the samples to, that type of stuff in-house. So that's how we made that kind of decision to go that route on this one.
So better off let the vendors do the heavy lifting and you guys do the quality part?
Yeah, we had a leak on Glendora, for another example. It wasn't very big. It was a consistent leak on our crosstown feeder. You've got to divide 4 lanes of traffic for more than 1.5 miles and keep that up 24 hours a day. Go in and do your prep, do your recess plating, consistent, just stuff like that. For us, we could probably do it, but it's a stretch because it would take everybody.
Yeah, I think to just add to that too, when we get into the severe stuff, it's not that our staff's not capable of it, but we do still need to maintain service. So if we had deployed all staff throughout the night, we wouldn't have been able to maintain and we did at one point have, I think about 6 o'clock, once we started to platoon the staff, we had everybody, like from customer service, production, I think even some of the conservation staff had come out to notify, because we went out and, canvassed the neighborhood, notifying residents, because we were able to work with the information officer. They were actually out there. Adam and Moises had come out. I mean, we had pretty much police department actually, came out. They helped. They worked through, which was a great help to us. They worked with their auxiliary officers throughout the night to maintain the road closure, because we actually maintained the road closed from Foothill all the way to, like Dale said, Route 66. So sometimes this was definitely one of the magnitude of like a Sunset Boulevard kind of leak for us. But those are those things that we scale. And then once we get into some of the larger things that need welding or any kind of specialty work, or lane closures, that's why we established those on-call contracts with some of the pipeline contractors. The resources they have far outreach some of our resources. So and then like I said, it allows us to maintain normal service.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Would you say this is probably one of the biggest ones you've seen in a while or in years, or that one in particular for the city of Glendora?
Ours? Yeah, it's one
Yeah,
of
for the city of Glendora,
the bigger
I mean,
ones that we've had here before, just in size and volume based on the pipe size.
Yeah.
We've had a few others, but that's more in my early career here.
So if nothing else, it was a good test case for any future big ones.
But no, I think And it also was, I think, the way that Dale and the team handled it, and it came to, it was kind of all hands on deck because Damien and his production staff performed all of the water quality sampling. This was one that we worked with multiple departments, so I think it was a testament to our ability to mobilize. I mean, this one did come in at, I was actually in the office at 2:05. The phones just started lighting up because it was one call after another, and then that really kind of amped up our response, and we were able to get out there. And like Dale said, getting the water shut off in a 30-40 minute period of time does seem like a long time, but that's pretty impressive, especially when you're dealing with a line 12 inches larger. When it comes, typically it's 6 to 8 inch with our distribution system. So handling that, it just really spoke to staff's ability to manage that situation.
Very good. Well, good job.
Did you have some people stranded up the hill that couldn't get through, couldn't get out?
Luckily, the way it was, we were able to maintain traffic. So everyone that was coming from Country Club was able to go around, and everybody on Foothill was able. There, obviously, were some people that were a little frustrated in having to go because you had to go all the way around to Lone Hill. So it was kind of inconvenient. But I think once they saw the giant hole and saw us working out there, some of the residents were very gracious, and they came out and gave staff food and pizza, and so that was really, really neat. So I think that was kind of also a testament to the community.
Yeah, great. David, you got anything? Nadia?
How were you able to call the contractor that quick? Do you have like a on-call service agreement?
They're technically on call, and like with any contractor, they will respond with whatever they have. So we do have a list that we call. They go out for a request for proposals, and then we set up that list based on the cost. So we just call the first one on the list first, and if they respond, they will. This particular contractor happened to be close by in San Dimas, from what I remember, at least the crew, so they're able to dispatch it pretty quick. Though, like I said, we had the water off before they got there. We were going to attempt to start moving, but we recycled that because the end game is what we're looking for, getting the service restored efficiently and quickly. And that was going to be a little bit of a chore as far as number of employees.
And our staff did start the excavation, so it was kind of a joint effort as far as the excavating. We began breaking ground, pumping the water down, and then once the contractor was on site, we reevaluated the deployment.
Did you guys bring the truck out for that? The new truck?
They
Yeah.
did have the Vector, but because of the way the hole was, we weren't allowed to. You couldn't get the snorkel.
Yeah,
and it's a heavy
the
piece.
challenge was because of the sheer size, we were not sure how undermined the road was. Luckily, it was just the substructure, so you kind of go back to that picture, you see how we basically over-excavated the whole entire intersection.
Was there any damage to public housing or any homes or residents, cars?
Fortunately, the only thing that was suffered was landscaping. It did find its way to the down the street. There was some impact to some of the county's storm drain sewer facilities that they had to come out and repair or clean out because of some of the debris, but they were able to. They actually responded and worked with us quickly too.
All right, could I have a motion to receive and file the, what are we receiving and file? We've been over 2 hours now.
Water
This is the
distribution
longest meeting
report.
we've had.
Is this a record?
Right at the top. Receive and file the 25-26 water distribution update.
I move to,
Moved by David,
moved.
seconded by Nadia.
Thank you.
Let's vote. And it passes 5-0. All right, moving right along to new business. We have the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan, and Management Analyst Armando De Jesus is going to give us a report.
He's not going to read every page, is he?
Maybe, no.
All 600
I'll-
pages?
I will make it short, I promise. So tonight, I am providing a brief overview of the 2025 Regional Urban Water Management Plan. The item has already been adopted by City Council, so no action is actually being requested for commission this evening. Just wanted to take a few minutes to provide an overview of the plans and highlight what they mean for the city of Glendora. So, California law requires urban water suppliers to update the urban water management plan every 5 years. The plan is designed to show that we have enough water supplies to meet our community's needs today and into the future, while we also are planning for the things like droughts, emergency population growth, and changing state regulations. This update looks ahead through the year 2050. Instead of preparing our own plan, Glendora partnered with 30 Valleys Water Municipal Water District, neighboring member agencies, to develop one regional plan as a whole. Working together allows us to share resources, reduce costs, and make everyone in using a consistent approach regionally instead of just creating our own. So 30 Valleys coordinated the effort, and Glendora staff submitted the final plan to the Department of Water Resources ahead of schedule. The Regional Urban Water Management Plan is organized into 4 parts. Part 1 provides the regional overview, including the water supplies, regional demand projections, and long-term water reliability. Part 2 focuses on specifically on the city of Glendora and the information includes about our service area, water demands, conservation programs, system losses, and future planning efforts. Part 3 contains supportive regional documents, and Part 4 includes Glendora updated water shortage contingency plan along with the supporting documentation required by the Department of Water Resources. So altogether, 4 parts is a 850 behemoth of a report. So currently, I have not memorized the entire thing. So. Before this plan could be written, the region first had to build a solid factual foundation. So the team gathered historical production, consumption, and water loss data from 2021 through 2025 to establish the baseline for our regional water use. 30 Valleys and the consultant team also met individually with each participant agency to review and verify the demand projections and available water supplies and future development plans. They combined the information with data with other agencies within 30 Valley service area to develop a complete picture of regional water needs and available supplies. That regional analysis served as the foundation of the supply and demand projections, and I'll discuss next. With the data in hand, the consultant team, GEI and WSC, they developed up to 5 different demand projection methodologies, ranging from status quo approach to a more aggressive approach tied to the state's new conservation standards. Each participating agency, including Glendora, worked directly with the consultants to review the different demand forecast scenarios and determine which approach best reflected the community and service area. So those individual decisions were then combined to create the final regional demand forecast. So it reflects each agency's unique needs and operating conditions instead of using one assumption for everyone. So as part of the Urban Water Management Plan, the state also requires drought risk assessments, which is basically a way to test how reliable our water supply would under different conditions. It looks at 3 different scenarios: a normal year with typical weather and water supplies, a single dry year with supplies are more limited in demand and demand is higher, and 5-year drought that represents a long period of dry conditions. So the purpose of the assessment is to make sure we're prepared before a drought happens. It helps confirm that our water shortage contingency plan will work as intended, identifies potential supply challenges ahead of time, and lets us know if we need to reduce demand or bring additional water supplies into the short term. One of the biggest takeaways from the Regional Urban Water Management Plan is that the region has enough reliable water supplies to meet projected demands through 2050, even during extended droughts. While the population is expected to grow slowly or slightly, overall water use is actually projected to decrease because of continued conservation efforts, water use efficiency standards, and ongoing investments in our water systems as well. So the plan also highlights the importance of maintaining a diverse water supply, continuing to work together as a region, and investing in groundwater quality improvements. Those efforts will help us stay prepared for future challenges, including the impacts of climate change. So the water shortage contingency plan is an important component because it establishes how the city will respond if water shortages occur, such as droughts. So the plan follows the state's required 6-stage framework, ranging from minor shortage to shortage exceeding 50% reduction. For each shortage level, the plan identifies specific response actions, customer reduction targets, and conservation measures designed to reduce the demand while maintaining reliable water service. Here's a quick look at how the plan became official. The Regional Urban Water Management Plan was released for the public review on April 27th of 2026. City Council held a public hearing on May 26th of 2026 and was finally officially adopted, along with the city updated water shortage contingency plan in June 9th of this year. The updated plan also incorporated lessons we learned from the recent drought. One of the most noticeable changes is the Stage 4 and Stage 5. Now both keep the 20% water use reduction targets that City Council adopted back in 2022 drought. The plan also clarifies how we're communicating with customers when a water shortage is declared. So basically, Stage 3 to 5 were originally set at 15%, and now they're all set 20% across the board. Overall, these plans served as the city's long-term range, like a roadmap for our reliability of water. They demonstrate that to the state that the Glendora and the region are prepared to meet future water demands, respond to the drought conditions, and continue providing safe and reliable water while complying with the state planning requirements. That concludes my presentation, and hopefully it was short enough. No, I'm not reading the entire document.
Did you say that because the city council's already adopted it, we really don't need to receive and file? Or do we, is that?
I can see that right now. Staff asks that Water Commission receive and file the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan.
Okay, all right. Can I have a motion to receive and file the 2025 Urban Water
Ask one
Management
question
Plan?
before we get to
Oh.
that? Just one question, I'm so sorry. I promise it'll be just one
You
question.
want to ask a question?
Just one question, yeah. I did actually read some of it. You said that the analysis shows that they can still supply water to the region for over the next 5 years.
Correct.
Under what drought conditions? I mean, under what conditions?
They basically tested all types. So
Okay.
they've allocated enough water. So we're not gonna, even during a drought, we're not gonna be left behind with having no water. So the last drought that we had was roughly around three years. So we had the available sources to actually do purchase water.
So even under extreme conditions, the analysis is that we would have enough water allocation based on typical demand.
Correct. And then using the water shortage contingency plan also allows us to either reduce or increase our stages. So if it does get to a certain point that it's really, really bad, it allows the city to make more drastic cuts and ask the residents, and it's more of an action, not a mandate, but at that point we're telling people you have to reduce water consumption.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me slow down a little bit then. Greg, you got any questions? No? Nadia? No. David?
I promised it was one question.
Well, yeah, but we'll come back to you. All right, can I have a motion to receive and file the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan?
Motion.
It was moved by David, seconded by Nadia. No, that was the last one. What,
My Pat. I will second it.
okay. Moved by Nadia, seconded by David.
Oh.
Oh, you're an old timer. You had your chance. I did. Let's vote.
It's not an emotion, she's got to read all here.
We normally do not go this long.
And the recommendation
ever have.
passes 5-0. Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever gone
Number
for 2
8.
hours. Sorry.
2025 Consumer Confidence Report, and Assistant Public Works Director Paul Zampiello is going to give us a lengthy report.
Unfortunately, my report isn't as long as Mondo's, so I will keep it brief. But I just wanted to present to the commission the 2025 the Consumer Confidence Report. This is, as the commission is aware and fully seen before, this is a annual report that we prepare and submit to or present to all residents for the water quality of the city for the previous year. One thing, just to kind of give some context, is this is, in past years, we've done this report. Some of the things that the feedback we get is that this is the 2025 report. Why are we seeing it in July? And that's just because of a couple factors. One of which is that as a wholesale supplier, you have up until April to provide that to retail. So Three Valleys, Metropolitan, some of the other wholesalers actually have to compile their data to then give to us. And so the timing of that kind of makes it to where July is typically when the due date the state requires that all agencies prepare this. So April would be the earliest that we could do it, and it does take some time. So that's what's always been a challenge in presenting this, because up until June, the only available data or report we had on our website was a 2024. It appears that we didn't have water quality data for the last 2 years. And so there are some changes to that in the state level, so we might end up having to kind of modify this plan, but just to kind of give that context, because that's always seems to be a thing that comes up. One of the great things about this report, and I think this is the effort that the staff have done, is some of the updates. We wanted to take the opportunity to not only present what the water quality data for the city, but also talk about some of the initiatives that we're doing, some of the other information. Just, it's a great opportunity to be in front of our customers and give some info. So one thing I will start, and I think I skipped over that, is with some of this, we expanded it from a 4-page document, I think, up to a 12-page. So I was trying to compete with Mondo and his 900-page document, but we'll just start with this. So like I said, a couple of the big things is just helping, and dealing with a lot of customers, some of the questions that they had. We thought it would be a good opportunity to just kind of explain to the residents on what their responsibility is, what the city's responsibility, and how, if they do have a leak or suspect the leak, how they can reach out to us. So we wanted to make sure to give that. Another thing was just talking about some of the, you wanted a CIP update here. I'm giving you a CIP update, but just kind of giving residents an update on some of the upcoming projects, the North Glendora Reservoir, Glendora Avenue Pipeline, Cypress and Colorado Pipeline projects. So just really giving some info, and then ultimately why these projects mattered, kind of giving some of our annual statistics, some of the things that we've been reporting to the commission. And so in past years, we've actually had to print out 13,000 copies of these and mail these out. And the state has given us the opportunity, probably for the last 6 or 7 years, of notifying through a different publication. And again, we wanted to try to find an opportunity, instead of just sending an envelope and with a letter in an envelope, doing a postcard. So staff worked on this design, and that QR code actually gave you access to the CCR. So one thing that I do want to make mention, and probably the most important, is that we did meet and exceed or exceed all the state and federal regulations for water quality. So didn't have any issues. So that's probably the great news. One thing that staff did work on with this is we actually made it into what they call a flip book. So instead of it just being a PDF, you can actually see it. We, in full credit, we stole this from Recreation because they use that for their activity book. But it's a great feature. It kind of gives a little bit of interaction to it. So on the website, it takes you right to and all the other reports are also available on the website. So with that, I wasn't probably as short as I could have been, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. But I ask that you just receive and file my update.
Any questions from the commissioners?
I loved getting it in a card and very nicely done compared to some of the other annual water parks, water reports, black and white, can't even read them. This was a wonderful annual report.
Thank you.
That's my only comment. The format and all the info, the way it's presented, it's a good job.
Other than the Vosburg and the Irwindale wells, are any of our wells in danger of contamination? I think that's going to require wellhead treatment.
Nothing as of right now. I think the biggest thing that's kind of emerging for a lot of agencies is PFAS. We're below the notification level, but we are seeing levels that much like every other agency, and I think as EPA and the State Water Resource Board really starts to establish what that requirement is, that could be something we look at in the next 5 to 10 years. I think almost everybody. PFAS is everywhere, so it's going to be something. And yeah, the nitrate is one that we're always monitoring and staying on top of. But the levels as of right now are low.
There always seems to be a new carcinogen of the month coming up every year where, it's just causing panic. So
Yeah. So
okay, great. Could I have a motion to receive and file the 2025 Consumer Confidence Report?
I move to do that.
Moved by David,
I would
seconded by
like to
Pat.
second it, yes, sir. I want to make sure you hear me this time.
Could we vote before we pass out? And it passes 5-0. All right, great. Thanks, report, guys.
Yeah.
All right, members and staff, closing comments. Any commissioners have anything to say? Nadia?
I do. First, I just want to thank the City Council for giving me the opportunity to be here to serve in the Water Commission. It's truly a privilege and honor to be able to serve, where the city where I live. I was born and raised in Indonesia, so I truly understand the importance of having a safe and reliable water. So it's very nice to meet everyone, and I look forward to learning from you all and working together. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Anything, David?
So I wanted to say how thankful I am for the caliber of work that you guys do with our water and how thorough the reports are and how much I'm learning about our water system from you. So I continue to enjoy interacting with you.
Great. Greg? No? Pat?
Just to thank you guys for all your efforts. And I mean, not just the slideshow, but the actual reports themselves are very thorough. And I know it takes a lot of work. I'm sure it takes a lot of work for you guys to do that. So you guys all did great work like you guys always do. So thank you for that.
Again, thank you, Paul, staff, everyone for all the great work you do. I think it is time, though, for another field trip with Nadia coming on board. I think at least 2 or 3 of us went on it, but it was like 100 years ago. So I think it's time. Yeah, we did see some redwood pipe down at Irwindale, I think. So great. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:30. Thank you, everybody.